Hello, everyone. Today we're going to talk about a fascinating topic albinos. Albinos are humans or other living things that lack pigmentation or coloration. In humans, this results in white hair and very light skin that's highly sensitive to sunlight. Yeah, what is it? Welcome to the Lang Focus channel, and my name is Paul. Today we're going to talk about a language whose relationship to other modern languages is not exactly known. That language is Albanian, or
Shqip.
as it's called in Albanian. Albanian is an Indo-European language. You may be wondering, which branch of Indo-European? Is it a Romance language? A Slavic language? A Germanic language? How about a Celtic language? A Hellenic language? Nope. Albanian is a language isolate within the Indo-European language family, meaning that it forms its own branch of Indo-European, to which no other modern languages belong. The most common theory among scholars is that Albanian developed from the ancient Illyrian language, which itself was an Indo-European language with uncertain connections to other ones. But there are others who think it's related to Thracian or Dacian. Albanian is spoken by around 7.6 million people, mainly in the Balkan region of southeastern Europe. It's the official language of Albania, as well as Kosovo, along with Serbian, in North Macedonia, alongside Macedonian, and it's also official at the municipal level in 6 of Montenegro's 24 municipalities. It's also spoken by minorities in other adjacent areas, such as Serbia, Italy, and Greece. Not much is known about the history of Albanian, and that's partly because the earliest examples of Albanian writing that we know of are relatively recent. The earliest known example of Albanian writing is from 1462, and the first Albanian book was written in 1555. Efforts to standardize the literary language, both in orthography and language forms, only began in the early 20th century, and a common standard wasn't accepted everywhere until the second half of the 20th century, as late as 1968 in Kosovo. The standard that came to predominate was based on the Tosk dialect, though it contains elements of the other major dialect as well, Geg. Tosk and Geg are roughly divided by the Shkumbin River, with varieties of Tosk being spoken in southern Albania, parts of Italy, Greece, and Turkey, and Geg being spoken in Kosovo, northern Albania, the Republic of North Macedonia, and Montenegro. Both dialects have a number of subdialects, and there's a transitional dialect in central Albania. What's Albanian like? Let's look at some basic words and phrases to start. And since it's kind of hard to find Albanian speakers to help with this video, I'm just going to use the Google Translate voice. Let's check it out.
Mirëmëngjes.
On second thought, I think I'll find a native speaker. Hello.
Ç'kemi?
Notice that this letter is pronounced as ch. Good morning.
Mirëmëngjes.
Good is
Mirë.
and morning is.
Mëngjes.
This letter represents a schwa sound, and you'll see this a lot in Albanian. But notice that it's reduced and almost not heard at the end of words.
Mirë.
And notice that this digraph is pronounced as a palatal ja, similar to j, except that the tongue is retracted towards the palate. J is represented by the digraph xh. Albanian has a number of digraphs, combinations of two letters that represent a single consonant sound. Good afternoon
Mirdita. Dita.
means day. Good evening
Mirëmbrëma. Mbrëmje.
means evening, and
Mbrëma.
on its own actually means last night. Bon appétit,
Të bëftë të mirë.
bon voyage, or have a nice trip.
Rrugë të mbarë.
In the word,
Mirë.
you heard an R sound, which was an alveolar or post-alveolar approximant, similar to the R sound in North American English. That sound is written with a single R. In the word,
Rrugë.
we can see that the double R represents a trill in Albanian. Call the police.
Thirrni policinë.
Notice that Albanian has a th sound, represented by th. It also has a voiced the sound, represented by dh. It's one of a small number of Indo-European languages that has those sounds. Go away.
Zhduku.
Notice that the digraph zh represents the sound j, like the French j sound. What's your name?
Si ju quajnë?
In formal speech, and
Si të quajnë?
in informal speech. The letter Q represents the sound ch, like ch, but with the tongue retracted towards the palate. My name is.
Muamishuain.
Now let's examine a few features of the language. Noun cases. There are 5 noun cases in Albanian: nominative, accusative, dative, genitive, and ablative. A vocative case also exists, but isn't very common. Nouns have endings that show the case of the noun. Those endings are also different for singular and plural, as well as definite and indefinite. So the endings function not only as case markers, but also as markers of definiteness. The indefinite singular forms also have an indefinite article
Nya.
before the noun, which also means one, and the indefinite plural forms can also be preceded by disa, a word meaning some. The case declensions are different for masculine nouns and feminine nouns, and there are some variations within both masculine and feminine declensions, depending on the sound at the end of the word. Adjectives. Adjectives come after the noun. For example,
Djali mir.
meaning the good boy, and
Vajza e mirë.
meaning the good girl. Adjective endings don't change very much. They're usually the same except for the feminine plural form, which ends in a,
Vajzat e mira.
but they are preceded by linking articles that show case, gender, number, and definiteness. It's worth noting that adjectives can be attributive, meaning they come right after the noun, or they can be predicative, meaning they come after a linking verb. In Albanian, in the plural definite form, the adjectives have different linking articles depending on whether the adjective is attributive or predicative. For example, the good girls
Vajzat e mira.
and the girls are good.
Vajzat janë të mira.
Notice here the verb meaning to be. A predicative adjective comes after a linking verb, whereas an attributive adjective comes right after the noun. Verbs. Verbs are one of the most complex things about Albanian because there are many moods that are used together with tenses. Moods are verb forms that indicate the attitude of the speaker towards what is being said. There are 6 moods: indicative, which expresses a fact or asks a question; subjunctive, which shows possibility; optative, which expresses a wish; admirative, which expresses surprise or disagreement; conditional, which expresses something dependent on a condition; and imperative, used for commands or instructions. The subjunctive and optative moods are closely related, and both existed in Proto-Indo-European. Albanian is the only modern Indo-European language that maintains both of them in parallel. In other Indo-European languages, they either merged or one of them fell out of use. There are 8 basic tenses in Albanian, which incorporate both tense and aspect together, but not all of the tenses are used with each mood. In the indicative mood, there are 8 tenses. In the subjunctive mood, there are 4 tenses. In the admirative mood, 4 tenses. In the optative mood, 2 tenses. In the conditional mood, 2 tenses. And in the imperative mood, just 1. Pronouns. Personal pronouns in Albanian differ depending on case. In the accusative and dative cases, the personal pronouns are accompanied by short forms. In other words, clitic pronouns that appear before the verb. For example,
Unë e pash atë.
meaning I saw him,
Atë.
is an accusative pronoun for the third person singular, but it's accompanied by
E.
a clitic pronoun which goes before the verb. Note that this sentence could also be,
E pash atë.
since Albanian is pro-drop, and the subject pronoun can be dropped because it's obvious from the verb conjugation. Oftentimes, the full pronoun is left out, and only the clitic pronoun is used. So the sentence above could also be,
Unë e pash.
or.
E pash.
The short forms also appear together with nouns in the accusative and dative cases. For example,
Eva I foli doktorit.
meaning Eva spoke to the doctor. Here
Doktorit.
is a noun in the dative case, and the clitic pronoun, e, accompanies it, appearing before the verb. But they don't appear in every case. When the object is in the dative case, in other words, an indirect object, the clitic pronoun is required. When the object is in the accusative case, though, in other words, a direct object, the clitic pronoun is used in certain cases but not others. The basic rule is that the accusative clitic pronoun must be used when the accusative object, in other words, the direct object, is not the focus of the sentence, while the clitic pronoun can't be used when the accusative object is the focus of the sentence. For example,
Eva e bleu fustanin.
and.
Eva bleu fustanin.
These sentences both mean Eva bought the dress. But in the second sentence, the focus is on the dress. For example, answering the question, which item did she buy? So the clitic doesn't appear. Possessive adjectives. There are also possessive adjectives in Albanian, which follow the noun that's possessed and agree with it in case and gender. For example,
Pas qenin e tij.
meaning I saw his dog. This is the possessive adjective meaning his, for nouns in the accusative case. And this sentence,
Qeni i tij është i shëmtuar.
meaning his dog is ugly. This also means his, but it's in the nominative case, because the dog is the subject. Also notice the different endings of the noun meaning dog, depending on its case. And notice the linking article before the adjective. Also note that it's a predicative adjective, and follows the linking verb.
Është.
It's the third person singular present form of the verb,
Jam.
meaning to be. Now let's focus on a couple more Albanian sentences and see what we find. Here's a sentence meaning the company president gave a promotion to his employee.
Presidenti i kompanisë dha një ngritje në detyrë punonjësit të tij.
Word for word, it's president, company, gave a raise in duty, employee, his. In this sentence, we see several examples of noun cases, so let's focus on those for a minute. First, look at the phrase.
Presidenti i kompanisë.
The first noun is the definite singular nominative form of.
President.
The second noun is the indefinite singular genitive form of.
Kompani.
The preposition e, meaning of, is part of the genitive form. The case forms for these two nouns are different because of their gender.
President.
Is masculine and
Kompani.
is feminine. Here
Ngritje.
is the indefinite singular accusative form of the noun, which is the same as the nominative form. This noun is in the accusative case because it's the direct object of the verb. Indefinite singular nouns are preceded by an indefinite article,
Një.
which also means one. It's followed by the preposition n, meaning in, then by the noun
Detyra.
meaning duty. This noun is in the indefinite singular accusative form because of the preposition that comes before it. Next, the noun
Punonjësit.
is the definite third-person singular dative form of the masculine noun.
Punonjës.
It's dative because the employee is the indirect object of the verb, and e is the clitic pronoun accompanying the dative noun. It's worth pointing out that the word order in Albanian is flexible. It would be perfectly fine to say this sentence this way instead.
Presidenti i kompanisë I dha punonjësit të tij një ngritje në detyrë.
Another sentence. This sentence means we want to buy some souvenirs.
Ne duam të blejmë disa suvenire.
Word for word, it's we want, subjunctive particle, buy some souvenirs. First, we see that the nominative personal pronoun,
Ne.
which means we, can be dropped,
Duam.
is the first person plural present indicative form of the verb,
Dua.
meaning want. In English, the verb want is followed by the infinitive of a verb, but Albanian has no infinitive form. The subjunctive form is used instead. This is the subjunctive form of the verb,
Blej.
meaning to buy,
Të.
is the subjunctive particle which precedes the subjunctive form of the verb. For most subjects, the subjunctive form is the same as the indicative, except for the second person and third person singular, which are different. The subjunctive is used after other modal verbs as well, like
Duhet.
meaning must and
Mund.
meaning can. Finally, the word
Suvenire.
is the plural indefinite accusative form of the noun.
Suvenir.
Albanian is a fascinating language with some unique features that make it stand out from other Indo-European languages. And it also has some other features in common with other languages of the Balkans because of the Balkan Sprachbund, an area in which all of the different languages of the Balkans influence each other through contact. In this video, we've basically just scratched the surface of Albanian, especially with regards to its rich verbal system of tenses and moods. But if Albanian captures your imagination, then you might want to check out these two courses: Colloquial Albanian, the complete course for beginners, and Discovering Albanian 1. Both courses are by Linda Maniku and Hector Campos. Colloquial Albanian seems more accessible to the casual learner, while Discovering Albanian seems more thorough and made for serious learners. The question of the day. For native speakers of Albanian, do you speak a Tosk dialect or a Geg dialect? How different are they, and how well do you understand the other group of dialects? And for everyone else, what's your impression of Albanian after watching the video? Leave your comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, then check out LangFocus on the various social media platforms like Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. And of course, I want to say a very special thanks to all of my Patreon supporters, especially these ones right here on the screen. They are my top-tier Patreon supporters. Many extra special thanks to them. And to everyone, thank you for watching and have a nice day.